कृष्ण कीर्तन कानन तन परो प्रेमामृतम बनिधि कृष्ण कीर्तन कानन तन परो प्रेमामृतम बनिधि कुजत कोकिलहं संसार सुगन की मयूराकुले नानारत्न निबद्ध मूल विटप श्रीयुक्त वृंदावने राधा कृष्ण महर्निशं प्रव्रजतौ जीवार्थदौ जौ बुधा वंदे रूप सनातन रघुजगं श्रीजीव गोपालकं कृष्ण कीर्तन गानन तन परो प्रेमामृतं बनिधि धीराधीर जनप्रियं प्रियकरं निर्मत्सरं पूजितं शंखापूर्वक नाम गाननतिभिः कालावसानिकृतं निद्राहार विहार कादि विदितं चत्तन्तौ दीनौ च जं शंखापूर्वक नाम गाननतिभिः कालावसानिकृतं निद्राहार विहार कादि विदितं चत्तन्तौ दीनौ च जं गोपी भावरसामृता दिलहरी कल्लोलमग्नौ नमो वन्दे रूप सनातन रघुयुगं श्रीजीव गोपालकं कृष्ण कीर्तन गानन तन परो
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the weekly Srimad Bhagavatam reading and discussion on Sunday, and we have classes 3 times a week as part of the PDA Hare Krishna Society sadhana program of practicing Krishna consciousness along with the chanting of rounds, minimum 16 rounds a day, following the regulated principles of freedom. That's what they are. No intoxications, no meat eating, no illicit sex, and no gambling. And this helps us to discipline ourselves above the animal platform of life, because the animal does not know the purpose of life, because it is in a lower species. The human species is the only form which enables us to understand who is God. Yes. And that is only if the animal, human animal, is disciplined. Unfortunately, in the Kali Yuga, especially in Western countries here, everyone is so degraded. All they do is constantly drink alcohol, do drugs, waste time. Chanakya Pandit, he said, the most valuable asset that you possess is your time. And if you don't utilize it properly, it's lost. And it can't be returned even if you have millions of gold coins, Pierangelo. Even if you're the richest man in the world, when your time is up, you have to go. So time is a very important aspect of our lives. Yes, it is. And unfortunately, people spend most of their time, Ron Singh in Nepal, talking nonsense. Not you, but I mean people in general. It is the tongue which is the most voracious and difficult to control. And people yet don't realize what the circumstances they are in, because they're bewildered by the material conception of life. Eating, sleeping, mating, and defending Vijaya Pandit in Italy. That's their business. And are they happy? No, they're not. It's actually great confusion for them. And today I'm going to read a very enlightening section from the Nectar of Devotion. As you know, I'm in Mexico right now. And I didn't bring my diaries with me, so we're reverting to the Nectar of Devotion. We will, when I get back to Canada, go back into the diaries, which I believe were in June 1966. But for today, Vijay Pandit, I'm going to read from the Nectar of Devotion, evidence regarding devotional principles, and it's a continuation of what I was just saying. In the 11th canto, Rupesh, evidence regarding, in chapter 7, in evidence regarding devotional service, in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhupada tells Maharaj Nimi, this is one of my favorite quotes. Sage Prabhupada tells Maharaj Nimi, "My dear king, please know for certain that in the material world there is no happiness." Is that sort of some happiness? Or does no mean something else? Let's ask one of the fake gurus. Maybe they can answer us, because they like to juggle words. It is simply a mistake to think that there is happiness here, because this place is full of nothing but material conditions. Sevenfold miseries, actually, Prabhus, as we know. Any person who is seriously desirous of achieving real happiness must seek out a bona fide spiritual master and take shelter of him by initiation. In a dream? No. In your imagination? No. By misunderstanding the quotes that Srila Prabhupada has given us concerning formal initiation? No. A lot of people want to rationalize that. Oh, if you just read the books, you're initiated. No. There's a sense of a connection, yes, absolutely. We're not denying that, and we want people to do that. But initiation also is formal, and we have rules and regulations that we've set out for the Prabhupada Disciples Association membership. So if anybody's seeking initiation, they can get in touch with us, and we'll send them out, the rules and regulations. I'll have our hosts, co-hosts, put them up on the screen on Thursday at our next class. Any person, the qualification is of a spiritual master. Qualification of a spiritual master is that he must have realized the conclusion of the scriptures by deliberation and arguments. Conclusion, and thus be able to convince others of these conclusions, like Srila Prabhupada, his divine grace. Such grace personalities who have taken shelter of the Supreme Godhead, leaving aside all material considerations, are to be understood as bona fide spiritual masters. Not go spend $30,000 on your bathroom in Vrindavan from collections of people in Kyrgyzstan. Oh, I need a special gold toilet. I don't know if he has one, but everyone should try to find such a bona fide spiritual master in order to fulfill his mission in life, which is to transfer himself to the plane of spiritual bliss. Very high level of qualification here that Prabhupada is explaining specifically. And that's him. He is the bona fide spiritual master, the representative of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada, his divine grace. The purport is that one should not accept a spiritual master, someone who is fool number one, who has no direction according to the scriptural injunctions, whose character is doubtful. Whose character is doubtful. Pirangelo, let me go over a few people that have been put in that role of Diksha Guru. How about Keith Ham, Kirtanananda, pedophile, murderer? Huh? How about Bhakta Vidyapurna, who was a teacher in Mayapur for years, engaged in all kinds of nefarious sex life, and claiming to be an acharya, claiming to be a sannyasi, and claiming to be a Diksha Guru? How about Giriraj most recently? How about him? Very interesting. I read a section in the Facebook posts of his dementia. Oh, he has some kind of dementia, made him forget who he was. A GBC, sannyasi, Diksha Guru. Gaslighting people. The ISKCON deep state, gaslighting people. Lying, cheating, cover up of the facts of life. And not according to Shastra here, whose character is doubtful. That's just a small sampling, Prabhus. What about Harikesh, who stole millions of dollars from ISKCON before he left and now lives in Florida with his dog and his massage therapist, now wife? Sannyasi, GBC, guru. Connect the dots. Those that don't accept this, you're fools. The 6 agents, and who has not conquered the influence of the 6 gratifying agents. The 6 agents of sense gratification are the tongue, genitals, the belly, anger, the mind, and words. Anyone who has practiced controlling these 6 is permitted to make disciples all over the world. Somehow or other, they think they are. To accept such a spiritual master is the crucial point for advancement in spiritual life. One who is fortunate enough to come under the shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, is sure to traverse the path of spiritual satisfaction, salvation without any doubt. To accept initiation from the spiritual master and receive instructions from him. Go ahead, keep going, please. Yeah. Sage Prabhupada continued to speak to the king as follows. My dear king, a disciple has to accept the spiritual master, not only as spiritual master, but also as the representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the Supersoul. In other words, the disciple should accept the spiritual master as God, because he is the external manifestation of Krishna. Very serious when people take this role and imitate this position and then accept service from disciples as if they're God themselves. See how serious it is. This is confirmed in every scripture, and a disciple should accept the spiritual master as such. Absolute power, absolute corruption. Remember that. You take that role, you're in trouble spiritually. One should learn Srimad Bhagavatam seriously with all respect and veneration for the spiritual master. Who produced the Rochisha Devi Dasi? Who produced the Srimad Bhagavatam for us? Shivaram? Did he? B.B. Govinda? Did he? No, there's only one person that translated the Srimad Bhagavatam for us. That's A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, His Divine Grace. Hearing and speaking Srimad Bhagavatam is the religious process which elevates one to the platform of serving and loving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The attitude of the disciple should always be to satisfy the bona fide spiritual master. Bona fide, not bogus. Then it will be easy for him or her to understand spiritual knowledge. This is confirmed in the Vedas, and it will be further explained by Rupa Goswami that for a person who has unflinching faith in God and the spiritual master, everything becomes revealed very easily. Otherwise, mass confusion. That's what's going on. This deep state of ISKCON is a building built on a foundation of corruption. It's a deep state of gaslighting, misrepresenting the truth to millions of people, and this has to stop, Pierangelo. This cannot go on. And people like yourself and Vijaya Pandit and Rupesh and all of the members of this group have to speak out as loudly as they can to protect Prabhupada's legacy for the future generations of humanity that are going to hell because of the misinformation campaign these gurus, GBC members, are perpetrating, and their foundation is all built on lies from Tamal Krishna, Romeshwar, and all the rest of these American so-called leaders that disobeyed the orders of our spiritual master, period. And they concocted it. Sorry. Here we go. This is confirmed in the Vedas and will be further explained by Rupa Goswami, that for a person who has unflinching faith in God and the spiritual master, everything becomes revealed very easily. Simple process, difficult for the crooked. To serve the spiritual master with faith and confidence. And this, unfortunately, everyone, is some manipulative tool that these gurus use to control their disciples and bewilder them. Regarding accepting initiation from the spiritual master in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 17th chapter, 22nd verse, it is stated by Lord Krishna, my dear Uddhava. Here, let's see if I can turn my page here. Oh, excuse me, everyone. These papers are so thin. The spiritual master must be accepted not only as my representative, but as my very self. He must never be considered on the same level with an ordinary human being. Giriraj. One should never be envious of the spiritual master. Oh, Jayapataka does that all the time. Oh, these people are criticizing Vaishnavas. They're fault-finding. They're envious. No, we're not. We're not envious of you. Look at the tragedy of he's living in that body of pus, stool, and urine. Completely destroyed due to karma. Oh, no, it's not. Oh, no, it's not. No, he didn't accept too many disciples. Maybe 100,000 people that most of them haven't got a clue what they're doing. The spiritual master should always be seen as the representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and by serving the spiritual master, one is able to serve all the demigods. And this is how we saw Srila Prabhupada when we met him back in the 70s. That he was the bona fide spiritual master. He was as good as Krishna, not Krishna, but the pure representative of Krishna. And in this way, we all broke down and cried and thanked Krishna for sending Srila Prabhupada to us by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya and the disciplic succession. That doesn't exist anymore. That's all gaslighted by these imposter gurus pretending to be on this level of transcendental connection with the disciplic succession. Study this carefully, Prabhus. Understand what's going on. The deep state of ISKCON has evolved into a serious cancer which is spreading slowly all over this world with its deception and lies. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and the Sankirtan movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Let's move forward with the chanting of Jaya Radha Madhava. And then we're going to have our Srimad Bhagavatam reading and discussion with our panel of devotees afterwards, led by His Grace Yashodanandana Prabhu, one of the foremost scholars of Krishna consciousness on the planet. And we're very, very blessed to have his association every week as he gives us a deep insight into the critical study of Srila Prabhupada's books. Hare Krishna.
Sai.
सरस्वती गोस्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णववृंद की जय, रामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद से अद्वैत गदाधर शिवास आदि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गौ गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरिवर्धन की जय, वृंदावन धाम की जय, नवद्वीप धाम की जय, स्वामी तो भक्तवृंद की जय, गंगा माई की जय, जमुना माई की जय, तुलसी देवी की जय, भक्ति देवी की जय, स्वामी तो भक्तवृंद की जय। All glories to the assembled Lord. All glories to the assembled Lord. Thank you very much.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you from Srimad Bhagavatam 1:1:1. Narayanam namaskritya Narayanam namaskritya Naram cheva narottamam Naram cheva narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyāsam Devim Saraswatim Vyāsam Tato Jayam Mudirayat Tato Jayam Mudirayat. One should utter the means of conquest, Srimad Bhagavatam, after offering respectful obeisances, 1, to the personality of Godhead Narayana, 2, to the Narayana Rishi, who is the supermost human being, 3, to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, then 4, to Srila Vyāsadeva, the author, from Srimad Bhagavatam 1-4. Welcome everyone to this reading and lively discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam and other scriptures and Srila Prabhupada's teachings, as we do every week, and this was done by Srila Prabhupada himself during his manifested presence. We will read a few selected verses from the Srimad Bhagavatam itself, which explains the meaning and the benefit of hearing this powerful transcendental literature. Just yesterday, I was doing some reading of a poetry of Srila Prabhupada. When Prabhupada was on the boat, the Jaladuta, he was getting ready to come over to America, and he was writing different poetries, different messages. It's interesting that these very same verses that we recite every Sunday are the same verses that Srila Prabhupada was writing in his poetry with regards to the meaning and the benefit of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. So let us move forward with those specific verses. Yadanya anudyasina yuktaha karma granti nibandhanam Chindanti kuvidastasya kona kuryat kataratim. Intelligent persons do cut off the internet of the knot of reactionary work by remembrance of the personality of Godhead. Therefore, who will not give attention to his message? Shushrushoho Shraddhadanasya Vasudeva Kataruchihi Syan Mahat Sevaya Vipra Punyatirtha Nishevanat. O the twice-born sages, by serving those devotees who are completely freed from all ranges of vice, a standard of great service is done. And as the result of such great service, affinity in the messages of Vasudeva is made possible. Shrinvatam Svakataha Krishnaha Punyasravana Kirtanaha Ridyantasto Yabhadrani Vidunoti Surit Satam. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is also the Paramatma in everyone's heart and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, does cleanse the desire for material enjoyment in the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge for hearing his, Krishna's messages, which are themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Nashta prayeshu vabhadrishu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naistiki. By regular attendance in the Bhagavatam class or rendering service unto the pure devotees, all that is inauspicious in the heart of a candidate becomes destroyed almost to nil, and thus loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, comes into being an irrevocable fact. Tadarajastamo bhava kamalobhadayaschaye chetayete ranaviddam stitam sattve prasidati. As soon as irrevocable loving service is fixed up in one's heart, at that time, the effects of the nature's mode of passion and ignorance, such as lust, desire, and hankerings, etc., do disappear from one's heart, and he becomes fixed up in the mode of goodness, which makes him completely happy. Evam prasanna manaso Bhagavad Bhakti Yogataha Bhagavat Tattva Vijnanam Mukta Sangasya Jayati. Thus, when one is positively fixed up in a mode of unalloyed goodness, the enlivened-minded man affected by contact of devotional service of the Lord can positively know scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead in the stage of liberation from all material association. Vidyate hridaya grantis chidyante sarva samshaya kshiyante chasya karmani drishta evatmanishwari. The knot of one's heart is thus pierced and all misgivings are cut into pieces. The chain of fruitive actions are terminated along with the seeing of oneself, the dominating factor. Let us proceed with the verse today. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 5, text number 38. It should be noted that all English synonyms, translations, and purports are from His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as the Krishna Consciousness Movement. Iti murti abhidhanena mantra murtim amurtikam yajate yajna purusham sasamyak darshana puman. Iti. Thus, murti form, representation, abhidhanena, in sound, mantramurtim, form, representation of transcendental sound, amurtikam, the Lord who has no material form, yajate, worship, yajna, Vishnu, Purusham, the personality of Godhead, Sa, he alone, Samyak, perfectly, Darshana, one who has seen, Purusha, person. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. As such, one who worships the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu, who has no material form, in the form of transcendental sound representation, is the actual seer. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Our present senses are all made of material elements, and therefore they are imperfect to realize the transcendental form of Lord Vishnu. He is therefore worshipped by sound representation in the way of transcendental method of chanting. Anything which is beyond the scope of experience by our imperfect senses can be realized fully simply by the sound representation. A person transmitting sound from a far distant place can be factually experienced. If this is materially become possible, why not spiritually about Lord Vishnu? This experience is not a vague experience of impersonalists, but it is actually experience of the transcendental personality of Godhead, who possesses the pure form of eternity, bliss, and knowledge. In the Amarakosha Sanskrit dictionary, the diction murti carries import in twofold meanings, namely form and difficulty. Therefore, amurtikam is explained by Acharya Sri Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakura as without difficulty. The transcendental form of eternal bliss and knowledge can be experienced by our original spiritual senses, which can be revived by chanting of the holy mantras or transcendental sound representation. Such sound should be received from the transparent agency of the bona fide spiritual master, and the chanting may be practiced by the direction of the spiritual master. That will gradually lead us nearer to the Lord. This method of worship is recommended in the Pancharatrika system, which is both recognized and authorized. The Pancharatrika system is the most authorized codes for transcendental devotional service, and without the help of such codes, nobody can approach the Lord simply by dry philosophical speculation. The Pancharatrika system is both practical and most suitable for the sage of quarrel. The Pancharatra is more important than the Vedanta, with special reference to the modern age. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Miritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaham Namaum Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhakti Vedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaham Bhagavad Vandanam Khadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam kadate hibisheshatah adadana danteridam yache punah punah Srimaduru papadam bhoja dhulisyam janma janmani amsho bhagavatosmyaham sadadasu asmi sarvata tat kripa pikshako nityam tat preshta chat karomisvam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is description by Srila Prabhupada of the importance of chanting the Maha Mantra in the age of Kali Yuga. And this is described by His Divine Grace by quoting a section from Sripad Madhvacharya, where he says, Dwaparante, that in the age of Dwapara Yuga, the system of worship, what was the elaborate Pancharatrika worship, elaborate temple worship. Dwaparayera janerbichu pancharatrestu kevalai. Kalau means in this age, tunama matrena pujyate Bhagavan Hari, that in this age, the recommended system is to worship the name of Lord Krishna or Lord Vishnu. This is the system for this age. This is quoted from Madhvacharya in a purport by Srila Prabhupada from the Narayana Samhita. Basically what it is, although the Pancharatra literature is a very detailed system of deity worship, and it's still applicable also in this age, the emphasis should be on chanting the name of Lord Krishna. Now we see in this purport where Prabhupada is describing the importance of receiving this transcendental sound from authorized sources. Now, there's been many discussions on the internet, on various social medias, various blogs, various email threads, various websites about what has taken place in the Krishna consciousness movement and the society that Srila Prabhupada started and founded during his manifested presence. And many devotees have expressed concerns, and various points have been brought up. I had a very interesting discussion with a Swami in 1993 in Los Angeles, and he was complaining that many persons in the movement have decreased the public chanting of the Maha Mantra. They're no longer chanting in the streets. Some of them are doing it. Many of them are still doing it, which is notable, which is very good. It's definitely recommended. But his complaint was specifically with regards to many persons in leading positions that were neglecting the public chanting. Recently, I heard from one devotee of one group that claims or proclaims to be following Prabhupada, that advise some of their followers, don't go publicly chant in the street. Now, maybe this person was totally ignorant that this movement was started by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada by chanting in New York, chanting in the parks publicly. There is nothing wrong with public chanting of the Maha Mantra. It should be recommended. It should be done every day. People should support it. If people cannot do it themselves, they should support others who are doing it. Why? Because this is the recommendation of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That is how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu started his transcendental movement in Navadvip in protest, social protest of the situation in Navadvip at the time. It is said in the Chaitanya Bhagavata that he gathered 100,000 persons with so many kartals and mridangas and walked and had walking with the chanting to the house of the Kazi. This was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's example. There are numerous references from Srila Prabhupada where he recommended his devotees to go chant. I remember in Montreal in 1969, even in the winter, we would go out and chant, distribute books. It was very cold. Our hands sometimes would turn blue from the cold, but we didn't stop the chanting. Why? Not that we were very big devotees or anything, because that was recommended by the authorized bona fide Acharya Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada just followed in the footsteps of his Guru Maharaj, in the footsteps of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We see in Prabhupada's books, he explains in many different ways why in this particular age, the age of Kali Yuga, that this chanting is the most powerful method of spiritual realization. This is very important because when the chanting is neglected individually and collectively, it brings problems. That's why people keep talking about the deep state. I love to use the term, the swamp. There's been a swamp of posing and pretending that goes on. When people neglect the chanting of the Maha Mantra, according to Srila Prabhupada's instruction and according to the proper way that Prabhupada recommended, there's guaranteed to be problems. Because people will ask, well, you people keep talking about this. What happened? Why is it that this movement was everywhere in America and Europe, in the streets everywhere? Why is it many times we get asked, oh, are you a Hare Krishna? What happened to the Hare Krishnas? We don't see them anymore. Several years back, I was in Cloverdale, California, in a supermarket. I had a shaven head and a shika and a kurta. And one gentleman came to me and says, are you a Hare Krishna? I said, yes, I am. He says, we follow Hare Krishna and the founder of the movement. He says, if you don't mind, let me ask you a question. What happened to the Hare Krishnas? They used to be everywhere in America, in the streets, in the colleges, in the parks, but we don't see them anymore. What happened to them? This is what happens when people neglect and disobey the instruction of the spiritual master. Prabhupada was not interested in show bottle spirituality, in sahaja cheap sentimentality. That was never Prabhupada's program. There are so many references in different letters, different conversations where Prabhupada recommended people to go out on Sankirtan and preaching. As a matter of fact, there's a reference in a conversation and in Prabhupada's book that the chanting of the Maha Mantra is the most important feature of bhakti. It's more even important than deity worship. In the Bhakti Sandarbha, there is a reference that the chanting of the Maha Mantra should be done under all circumstances, whether one is initiated or not initiated, whether one fully understands the meaning or not, one should chant. We see in the Chaitanya Bhagavata that Haridas Thakur made a statement that the chanting of the Maha Mantra should be done loudly because everyone benefits, the human beings, the animals, the beasts, the birds, the reptiles. Every human being, every living being benefits from hearing the Maha Mantra. This was Prabhupada's mission. This was the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So all these problems we see, that is referred to as the deep state, what I call the swamp of sahaja sentimentality and foolishness, is due to not properly chanting and not following what Prabhupada is describing in this purport, that one should receive this transcendental sound from authorized sources. We see in the literatures of our acharyas like Baladevi Vibhushana, in his Pramaya Ratnavali, he describes Sampradaya Vihinaye Mantraste Nishvalamataha. One should receive his mantra from authorized bona fide disciplic succession. Now, the problem we have is a lot of self-appointed persons concocted a bogus idea that they became gurus by a mysterious, unproven appointment, which even 46 years after Srila Prabhupada's non-manifested presence, people are still arguing that they were appointed or selected as initiating acharyas, which is a lie and a falsehood. This is the basic pillar of the deep state. And the deep corruption in the movement comes from that disobedience of Prabhupada's instruction. In the middle 1970s, Srila Prabhupada wrote a letter to Karandar. He says, if there is any problems in our society, I'm paraphrasing here, it means that the instructions of the spiritual master are being neglected. How many warnings did Prabhupada give? How many instructions did Prabhupada give on all kinds of topics? Why is it that everything was clear about everything Prabhupada gave, whether it was the management, whether it was Varnashram, the Gurukul, the books, the preaching, but this issue of initiation became totally confused. Why? First of all, people suppressed actual conversations. They suppressed bona fide open discussions, followed by heavy repression, and then they wonder why there was problem. But they claim, the deep state will claim, oh, no, you were wrong. We had a reform. One of our acharyas even wrote a book, Guru Reform. I remember I was in Toronto at the time. One devotee brought me this booklet about Guru Reform. And I told this devotee, I says, if we take the Bhagavad Gita and look at the list of all the acharyas that Prabhupada has given there, which acharya ever needed to be reformed? Is this like a juvenile delinquent that he needs to be put in juvie hall for some chastisement and reform? This is complete nonsense. No bona fide Vaishnava acharya ever needed to be reformed. What to speak of the level of depravity and corruption that we have seen, that is still going on because of that disobedience and neglect of Srila Prabhupada's instruction. That's why these things take place. Now, we don't take pleasure in this, but as Prabhupada says in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, we don't take pleasure in it, but the truth must be told. I remember having so many private discussions with Aprakrita in French. Every week we would speak, sometimes once, twice, or 3 times a week. And we kept coming back about this point about following the instruction and order of the spiritual master. And I had the utmost respect for Aprakrita because I knew the level of sadhana that he did, 25 rounds a day, only sleeping 4 hours a day, constantly preaching under very severe condition, even in the winter in Montreal. I believe Rochitsa Mataji can testify to this. It gets a little cold up there. It's not tropical weather in Montreal in the winter. It's very difficult. But he kept with great determination and great focus. He was preaching to all kinds of people in Europe, in Switzerland, in France, in Belgium, in Quebec, both in French and English, very fixed up in his sadhana. He was like a second Jayananda. No personal motivation. Aprakrita had 0 personal motivation for name, fame, power, prestige, self-aggrandizement, personal aggrandizement. His only focus was following Srila Prabhupada. Anybody who received Aprakrita's newsletter could perceive this from him. Every single day, he would send a message from the Bhagavatam, from the Bhagavad Gita. He would put beautiful pictures. It would be in French and English, constantly preaching. I remember after I would come out of these discussions with him, I felt so enlivened, because I felt that this is a person who has really understood the message of Srila Prabhupada, really understood the message of the mission of our acharyas, and followed in a very exemplary, selfless manner. No personal motivation. There is no room in his heart. There was no room for personal, self-promotional, self-aggrandizement unlike some other sahajiyas. This is very important. And last night I stayed up and I was reading some poetry from Srila Prabhupada, that the different poems that Prabhupada wrote before he came to America, when he was at the Radha Damodar temple, when he was in Vrindavan, at Keshi Ghat. There's different poetry that he wrote on the Jaladuta, on the boat. It's quite amazing, the devotional sentiments that he's expressing. Even before he got on the boat, he was criticizing his godbrothers for being disunited. He was criticizing his godbrothers for breaking up the momentum of the mission of his divine grace, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, complaining about neophyte behavior. But history repeats itself. We can learn from this. We're not interested in falsely criticizing anyone. We don't want to be misunderstood. But facts are facts. Now, everybody is entitled to their own expressions, but nobody is entitled to make up their own facts. This bogus idea that has been propagated, that we've had a reform, what reform? And you invented an election system? And people invented a voting system that is nowhere described in Prabhupada's books? People should be aware of this. Do not be misled by the false propaganda of the deep state and the swamp of ISKCON. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, glories to Srila Prabhupada, thank you. And this leads us to understand the meaning of bridge preaching further, and why a group would be told not to chant on the street. What's the reason? Well, they're trying to become accepted by the local or national people of their country as not disturbers, because chanting on the streets sometimes disturbs people, and therefore they don't want to cause any confrontation or difficulty with others. This is the idea of conforming to local rules and regulations and not presenting the philosophy the way that Lord Chaitanya did when he was personally present in the 15th century. And we all know the story of the Chandkazi, how he performed the Sankirtan, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as a civil protest against the status quo in that place. So the status quo is not something we follow. No, we're not interested in that. And bad publicity, this is something that is the perception of the mundane mind, the mundane person, because they don't want to hear about God. They don't want to be reminded about God. They don't want to think anything about spiritual life. In fact, it's taboo. They say things like, oh, if you want to keep a friend, don't discuss religion with them. Hey, Pure Angelo, don't discuss it. You'll make an end. Don't discuss politics and don't discuss religion with other people. Why not? Because it'll disturb them, especially if they are mundaners. The mundane mind is what is contaminating the whole world. The mundane people that live in this world, in the prison house of material desire. There is no happiness in this world, but people don't want to be told that. The fact of the matter is, Worrying about bad publicity because you're chanting Hare Krishna on the streets is a mistake. And for some people, some groups, they're more concerned about philanthropic and altruistic activities. Let me feed kids. Okay, well, it's a good thing to share food. But is it prasadam? That's a question. And also, the point that is being made here is that Prabhupada never promoted opening of hospitals, Radhanath. He didn't promote simply the distribution of food for the sake of collecting money or getting government support. No, he didn't. But this reason for not chanting on the street is because they don't want to have bad publicity. Oh, you're devotees of Krishna. Actually, remember this, Prabhus. If you're known as a devotee of Krishna, that is a great blessing for you in your life. Because most people hide from it. For example, hair. Why do the devotees walk around with goatees? Little tufts of hair here, mustache, long hair. Why do they do that? Well, they don't want to be singled out as devotees. They don't want to be recognized as Vaishnavas. Why don't they wear neck beads? What's the reason? They're embarrassed. Oh, they're going to know I'm a devotee. Embarrassed? It's interesting, Yashodanandana Prabhu, when it comes to shaving your head. Seems to be so much paranoia. We have a godbrother living in, he's a friend of ours. He's promoting Prabhupada's nectar. But he looks like a beatnik from the 60s. He's got a tuft of hair and this and that and blah, blah, blah. What's wrong with that? Well, Prabhupada, and Yashoda may relate to us later about this, how Prabhupada insisted that his disciples shave their heads. Yeah. And people are paranoid. Oh, I don't want to shave my head. People are going to notice I'm a devotee. That's your insecurity, my friend. Yes, it is. In fact, it's kind of ironic, Yashodanandana Prabhu, today, how people are worried about shaving their head and carrying a sika when everybody walks around with every kind of mad hair design that you can think of. Pink hair, purple hair, blue hair, shaved head, this half head, this and that, and everything under the sun. It's all madness. But yet the devotees are, oh, I got to grow my hair. I got to hide out from the police. And even the gurus. We got this fellow in Germany who always has hair. We're doing a series of podcasts coming up and showing how these different gurus break all the rules. Massages with women. Here's a picture of him as Shankar Shan, I think, or not Shankar Shan. That's the guy that's pretending he's Bob Dylan from Dallas, from Texas. But this German devotee, he's on the massage table and the lady's massaging him and he's got his hair and he's carrying on like he's some kind of rock star. Mistake. Shave your head. Don't be afraid of that. Don't be afraid to be known as a servant of Srila Prabhupada and Krishna. Altruistic, philanthropic work. This is not the business of the Vaishnava community. The business of the Vaishnava community is to speak the truth and nothing but the truth. And this bridge preaching, this is another bunch of mental concoction, speculation by a few people. Here, I want to refer to this book again. Please, I'm going to suggest all of you to read Perfect Questions and Perfect Answers. We're planning to do a book which will include part of this book in it on Guru Tattva and on how to preach properly. And Prabhupada very beautifully explains the philosophy of Krishna consciousness without compromise to Bob Cohen back in the 70s. I mentioned I was there in Mayapur when these conversations were going on. I wasn't at the walks, but it became well known, and somehow or other, some of the devotees put this together as a book, a small book. And it does give you a very deep insight on how the pure devotee answered the questions of others. How to do it, not make it up. Don't become Tony Robbins, the new motivational speaker that's using the philosophy of the Vedic teachings to become popular as a motivational speaker. That's not a good thing. I actually sold a BMW to a guy, the monk who sold his Ferrari. It was a guy named Sharma. And he was a motivational speaker. He had his mother and father come to see me at the BMW dealership when he picked up his car from us. This was years ago, of course. I long gone from that world of confusion and difficulty. But this motivational speaking, this attracting followers, this bridge preaching, don't chant on the street. This is all the contamination of the deep state, of confusion, of gaslighting, of lying and cheating to the innocent public. And the people are innocent, Krishna Katha. Yes, they are. It is unfortunate. But we should not give up the cause. Never give up. That's what people do. Well, they're making me look like a bad person. They're not going to let me come to the temple because I refuse to accept them reading from the change books. In Alachua, they kick you out. Oh, you got to read from this yellow Gita. Did you see that, everyone? I put that picture up. I might put it up again. I took a case of yellow Gitas and I burnt them in my backyard. I took a picture of it. Oh, I got a reaction from one of the ISKCON people I knew in Toronto, Bhakti Yoga. Oh, I would never do that. There's a picture of Krishna. I took the pictures out, by the way, everyone. But the verses were changed. I didn't have the heart to give that book to somebody who was sincere about Krishna consciousness and would be misled by the ISKCON group. That's what happens. And by the way, this is what they do. Connect the dots. They take the book, they put their promotional pieces at the front and the back. They give people the Prabhupada book. The person reads the book, it's changed, it has a certain direction that it's giving to them to come and join us at the temple and get initiated by a bogus guru. They're simply using Prabhupada as a vehicle for their own self-aggrandizement. It's a cloak of deception. The deep state of the ISKCON movement is spreading throughout the world and destroying our disciplic succession. This is a sin. A big sin. It's a karmic sin. And before we pass it back to Yashodanandana Prabhu, I wanted to mention, I have a friend in Philadelphia, a devotee. He's fairly wealthy, actually. He's made millions and millions of dollars. I introduced him to the real estate business after the temple was collapsing in Toronto, and he went on and developed his own little empire in Philadelphia. And I was explaining to him the importance of remaining fixed on the original message, but he can't listen to it. So this is an unfortunate thing that's going on. People cannot hear the philosophy. They don't want to hear it. They think it's offensive. And in this way, you'll lose many relationships if you present this to other people and they don't accept it. They'll just, goodbye. And that's going on. Yashodanandana Prabhu, if you could further continue.
You are raising some very important points, that the movement has become very compromised and altered. The original preaching message has been compromised. Just like yesterday, our good friend in Nepal, Bhakti Ron Singh, mentioned all the original principles, not just the philosophy, but even the practical implementation of the management of Prabhupada society. Everything has been compromised. For example, they concocted this corporation called the GBC Society of West Bengal, which is a real estate holding company to control all the temples from their, with their GBC, whatever. But where is the instruction from Srila Prabhupada that Prabhupada has ever given the instruction to form a real estate holding corporation to control the real estate of all the temples? As a matter of fact, on December 22nd, 1972, Srila Prabhupada wrote a letter to Corandar saying there should be no centralization and no bureaucracy. He wanted all the temples to be independent, get their own tax certificate from local authorities. And the only centralization that Prabhupada had was the BBT for the efficient production and distribution of books. But the temples were meant to be independent all along. Centralized, the only centralized was the philosophy. They've completely changed everything. That's the deep state for you. A complete total concoction and deviation from Prabhupada standards. And they wonder why they're having problems. There are so many different levels of that swamp, that concocted Sahaja swamp that they've concocted. We've often dealt with this issue of the kirtans. Why Prabhupada wanted kirtans to be done in a certain way? Because Prabhupada was from Bengal. Well, guess what? In Bengal, that's the headquarters of Sahaja philosophy. That's where Sahajiism came from. There are so many, even today, so many different groups with so many different new mantras. Everybody has seen in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, that famous mantra, Nitai Gaur Radhe Shyam, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram. This was invented by a Babaji in Bengal but during the time of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And he got like 60 or 70,000 disciples. He went all over Bengal chanting this mantra. And by the time that Bhaktivinoda Thakur got hold of him and explained to him that this is not an authorized mantra, and this Babaji allegedly asked Bhaktivinoda, how can I undo this? He says, you can't undo this. All you can do is do the proper mantra, the Hare Krishna mantra. So the damage that these people have done to the mission of Srila Prabhupada is very difficult to measure. But those that are sincere and serious about following Srila Prabhupada, it's never too late. The real movement will always be there. Now, whether that current society really represents the original pure movement and the original pure teachings of Prabhupada, that is something else. I wanted to point out one thing about this poetry that I've been discussing, which was a statement from Srila Prabhupada. This is called the one of these, the Vaishishtyastakam, the fourth division octet, where Prabhupada says, those disciples who were irresolute in performing devotional service according to your instructions have divided your mission into many factions. It appears that the tigress of ambition for material name and fame has appeared and personally provoked this upheaval. History repeats itself. Exactly what took place in the post-1937 Gaudiya Math is taking place in the post-1977 FishCon. This is the explanation right here. The tigress of ambition for material name and fame has appeared and personally provoked this upheaval. Let me give one example. In 1986, during this so-called reform, this alleged reform, one of the masterminds of that disaster went to a Gurukul teacher and asked him, my only concern is whether my picture on the altar can be 6 inches or whether it's going to be reduced to 1 inch. Just see the madness. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Oh, he's got the Vaishishtyastakam right here. So this is very nice. Anybody is interested, you can go on prabhupadbooks.com and you can look it up. It's available. It's not difficult to find. These are very beautiful offerings from Srila Prabhupada in 1961, where Srila Prabhupada is expressing what was happening to his spiritual master's institution. And you can see the parallels, and history repeats itself with what happened in Prabhupada's glorious society. It can always be reformed. The swamp has got to be drained out. Thank you very much. To whom it may concern.
Yes, it is Gaudiya Math Part 2. And Prabhupada Vijaya Pandit gave us so many warnings that we should not succumb to personal ambition, like he saw his godbrothers do that after the disappearance of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami, His Divine Grace. He saw it. He had personal experience. And we referred to a lecture that Prabhupada spoke in 1972, in July, I believe, where he said a great institution was destroyed due to whimsical behavior. And that is what has happened to ISKCON, due to the whimsical behavior of a few Americans. The Americans with the change disease. And before we go to our guest, Puranjana, to speak, I wanted to bring up a point. I was the chairman of the Temple Presidents Association in 1978 and 79 for the world, and then in North America. I was also voted in by my peers in that role. Now, Prabhupada wanted the mission to be run individually by temple presidents, not by GBCs. That was changed by the GBC. And as a result, these days, they've changed the management of the temples from a leadership role of a temple president to a board of directors. Totally changed. 100%. Oh, there may be a figurehead temple president there. You'll see some letters that were sent to me when we were sending out letters to recommend people for initiation. Prabhupada would send back a letter to his temple presidents. He'd tell them, perform the sacrifice, give them the beads, and give them the name I'm sending. And then you set the example for them how to follow this process. And in this way, the temple president was in charge of the movement for Srila Prabhupada. Now they've got rid of the temple presidents. They've minimized it. That was our problem back in 78, 79, when Tamal Krishna created this huge revolt within our movement, and Prabhupada sent him to China, and he refused to go. This is a history that people should be aware of. We're not making this up. Most people make things up. They don't really know what they're talking about, so they just talk. Prajalpa. Talk. They ruined this movement. They destroyed it. And this is because they deviated for personal reasons away from the order of Srila Prabhupada. How to manage a society, how to grow a mission, and how to save the conditioned souls in this Kali Yuga from going to complete hell through a nuclear war. That's where this is heading, unless things change. Paranjana Prabhu, he's somewhere in America. How are you today, Prabhu? Is your microphone working, or did you leave us? Let me look and see if he's still with us. He's still with us. I can see his picture. Paranjana, maybe you could share some insights today on today's discussion with the devotees. Paranjana Prabhu.
Haribo, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we do.
Oh, okay. All right, Haribo. Yeah, my godbrother Vaikuntanath just left his body recently, and I made a little analysis of my relationship with Vaikuntanath. And it's interesting because at one time he wanted to know about the poison issue, allegedly. I mean, he had heard so much about it. He says, I want you to tell me the whole thing, just threadbare. Just let me know what happens. I said, sure, let's walk around the block and I'll tell you the whole situation. So we got about halfway around the block and he just bent over and said, my ulcer is popping. I can't talk anymore, because he knew I was right on that issue. So it's kind of interesting. These people, they kind of know we're right, but they just can't tolerate, dealing with it and confronting it. And then another incident I had with Vaikuntanath, a new devotee was at the Berkeley Temple, and he said, I've heard that Prabhupada can be my guru. Is that right? I said, well, of course he can be your guru. And he says, well, Vaikuntanath just told me that Prabhupada can never be my guru. I have to go find a guru. I said, wait a minute. You mean Vaikuntanath is telling you that the guru of the religion is not going to be your guru? I mean, how is that going to work? So I did convince this person that Prabhupada could be his guru, but this is the type of preaching you have going on. And people are telling me, oh, you're like the Christians. Well, yeah, if you go to the church, they're not going to tell you, Jesus is my guru, but he's not your guru. You can't function like that. You can't have a religion where the people come to the religion and they're told you can't worship the guru of the religion. You have to go find another guru. So that has happened. Vaikuntanath was telling everybody, go find a guru. Well, yeah, so they went to the Gaudiya Math, they went to Narayan, they went to Sridhar. He was very friendly with Radhanath. So it just doesn't work. You can't have a religion where you're advertising everybody, go find another guru, because that's what's causing the exodus from ISKCON. People are leaving to go find another guru, and that's basically what's happened at Berkeley. Everybody was worshiping Gopal Krishna, and some of them were worshiping Kirtananda, some of them were worshiping Radhanath. There was no unity for the religion. It doesn't work that way. Anyway, unfortunately, he left his body. I think he had Alzheimer's or something towards the end. But so I wrote a little thing about it. I mean, he was at least very friendly with me. I mean, he did like me. So he was head and shoulders above many of the other devotees. But from my point of view, it's very sad that these people, they see all the problems going on. They see that their system is not working. They see it's kind of deteriorating, and they're leaving their body, but they won't make a statement, hey, guess what? I was wrong. I was wrong to promote all these, differentiated gurus and all the rest of it. And I should have promoted Prabhupada, and Pranjan was right, and this guy was right, that guy was right. And it's just not working. So it's unfortunate. You have a chance, you're leaving your body, you should be saying something, and they just, unfortunately, they don't. Anyway, it is what it is. I wish him well. I wish all of them well. It's not like I hold a grudge or anything, but they haven't learned the lesson, and they will have to learn eventually. They can't just skate by forever, promoting the wrong thing. It won't work, and they'll have to take another birth to realize that. But they complain, I'm a Christian all the time. Well, yeah, that's exactly right. I am like a Christian. You come to my church, I'm going to tell you to worship Jesus. I'm not going to tell you to go skate around and find someone else to worship. So yeah, I am like them. But as far as the bridge preaching, that's very funny as well, because the bridge preaching, they always talk about, oh, we're going to have a uniform thing with the Christians and the Muslims and this and that. Well, wait a minute. You're saying the Ritviks are poisonous, bogus people, and then you're going to the church to glorify the Christians with the leaders of the Christian faith. What? Yeah. So, obviously they're just exploiting, we're working with the Christians. You're not working with the Christians. You're always criticizing the Christians are bogus Ritviks. So anyway, it's another example of the hypocrisy. Haribol. Oh, wait, one more thing. I found this document on the internet, and I put a link to it. I would like people to look at that document and see what it is exactly. I'm not sure what it is, but apparently, it's some document that Prabhupada wrote at some time, and it was not published. I don't know, but check it out. I put the link there. Haribol.
Glories to Prabhupada. Yes, it's interesting that you gave some insight into the state of mind of this Prabhu. I've never heard of him personally. It doesn't mean he isn't someone, but I don't know who he is. Vaikuntanath, but I do know a lot of people like him who are confused. And God brothers. And we've parted ways. Goodbye. You don't need us, we don't need you. Go away. Because they're spreading poison, Tim Lee, Puranjana. Their compromised state of mind isn't helping anybody, including themselves. You want to be compromised? That's an easy thing to do. It's like a politician. Be a politician. Be compromised. Be accepted into the cult of the guru in your local zone that's trying to recruit new people for their own personal purposes. Let these changed books be distributed. It doesn't matter. Well, it does matter, and wake up. If you don't, I don't like what you're saying to me, I'm going to hang up the phone. I'm going to block you. Okay, go ahead, goodbye. Good riddance. You're not a disciple of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada if you don't take this role of protecting his legacy. You sit in a compromised position. The guy's stomach his ulcer was popping. He didn't want to hear about the poisoning. What's wrong with this guy? That's his karma, it's not mine. Like I said, I don't know the fellow. But I do know people like him. Birds of the same feather, everyone, flock together. If you want to go listen to Radhanath, do it. If you want to hear Mayavadi philosophy from him, go and do it. Don't waste our time. Don't. Because it is a waste of time, because you do not listen. Rakesh's iPhone, I see his hand is up. Yes, Prabhu. Rakesh's iPhone.
Okay.
Can you?
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you for a nice class. I was along the lines of Jesus Christ being the spiritual master. I wanted to add, share my experience. On my way to work, I passed many churches, and many of them have these little billboards or electronic displays and with some messages. Usually it's very vague, sort of impersonal, but one of them caught my attention. It says, love God, love others, make disciples. So I asked one of the Christian brothers and sisters what exactly that means, make disciples. And they said, well, make disciples for Jesus Christ, make disciples of Jesus Christ. Mm-hmm. So even they have this clear understanding who their spiritual master is, even though they, may listen to whatever representative that they are dealing with, but they still have this understanding, make disciples of Jesus Christ. Just wanted to share that.
Perfect. Yeah, that's perfect. It's simple. Simple for the simple, but difficult for the crooked. And this is going on. It's unfortunate, Rakesh. And, this is the material world. It's a prison house for the living entities to reside and work their way through the difficulties and find pure devotional service at the lotus feet of the bona fide spiritual master, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Thank you, everyone. I wanted you, Yashodanandana Prabhu, to share a last few closing statements before we end the program. Yashodanandana Prabhu.
I just want to say I greatly appreciate everybody's participation here and comments from Ron, Raghava, Paranjana, and everybody on the chat. I think it's very important for devotees to put these discussions in perspective. And let me just repeat this, because sometimes we get misunderstood. We are not against anybody in ISKCON or any leaders. We're trying to present Prabhupada's legacy, Prabhupada's original teachings without adulteration, without interpolation. And this is not an attack on anybody personally, even though some names are occasionally mentioned. It is not personal attack. It is not fault finding. It is fact finding to ascertain the actual meaning and intent of His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada and his teachings, his unrevised original teachings and mission. And this point by Ram Raghava Prabhu is very important. The mission can only be united if there is one acharya. This nonsensical idea of appointed acharyas, voted in acharyas, has created great havoc in the mission of Srila Prabhupada. It's divided the mission. We read from Prabhupada's own statements before he came to America, analyzing why that particular mission failed in 1937. The tigress of Pratishta, name and fame, came in. Same disease that came in the movement. When Prajumna Panditji tried to advise these people in 1970, said Janmashtami, that what you people are doing here is very dangerous. This was not talked about or ordered by Srila Prabhupada. They drove him away from the society and the movement. They assassinated his character, totally unfair. I was associated with him every day. He was chanting his rounds, doing his service of translating the Bhagavatam. What was his crime? Speaking the truth. That was his crime. Speaking the truth, explaining Prabhupada's intent, explaining Prabhupada's mission. But these people had some other idea, some other personal ambition. The disease is personal ambition, and nobody should fall for that. There are too many beautiful aspects of Krishna consciousness that everybody can practice very simply, very easily, without all this nonsense showboating and posing and posturing. That has got to be driven away from the movement, regardless of who it is. Either they give up their false ideas or Krishna himself will drive them away. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Yashodanandana Prabhu, and we want to thank all of you for joining us in this weekly sadhana program of scriptural study, critical study of Prabhupada's books, and discussion with the assembled Vaishnavas here in this group who are dedicated to Prabhupada's legacy. Yes, we thank you. And we'll be back next week, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I want to thank Ram Raghava. I didn't know it was Rakesh was Ram Raghava. I want to thank you for joining our production team to maintain our weekly programs for everyone. If you're not getting a invitation, let us know. If you're having difficulty with your subscription to our Hare Krishna channel, let us know. Any other problems that you're having, and please promote these programs to other people that are serious and sincere. Let them come along and enjoy the bliss of discussions on the transcendental subject matters that we do address here in these programs. It is blissful. Yes, and kirtan, chant along while we have this kirtan coming up with Srila Prabhupada. Kirtan is so important. We don't get a chance to chant with everyone. Hopefully that'll unfold in due course. But in the meantime, join us for this 2.5-minute kirtan led by Srila Prabhupada, and then we'll have our closing obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, and all glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
let us offer our respectful obeisances to all the assembled Vaishnava devotees. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances. We all offer our respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord who can fulfill the desires of everyone, just like desire trees, and who are full of compassion for the fallen souls. Thanks, everybody, for participating in this auspicious open program. Thanks, Vishwakarma Prabhu in Mexico, our good friend, Dr. Ram Raghava in Georgia, Vijay Pandit in Italy, and Gopika Mataji in Italy, Komeva, and everybody participating, Priyaranjalu Prabhu, Rupesh Prabhu in Bombay for your management of the program, Ronald Singh in Nepal, Mother Yasmin in Hamilton, Ontario. Everybody, we invite you to come and join us again on Thursday at 5:00 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for Chaitanya Charitamrita reading, and hopefully some very interesting and enlivening discussions. If anybody has been offended by our frank and open talk, we respectfully and humbly beg your forgiveness, but we will not cease and desist from speaking the truth. Hare Krishna, all glories to His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare